And that's carried. Thank you very much. So now we'll move on to the last item for the open agenda, which is item 15, but it has a PX component which relates to a matter with commercial sensitivity. So if people would be mindful of that when we're dealing with the open part of the agenda. And I'll hand over, I think Angus is going to introduce the report to us. Thank you.
Yes, I will, thank you. So we had a briefing on this the other day. The structure of the report from that briefing has changed, as the Mayor said. We now have a portion in the open agenda section of this meeting and a portion in the PX. The portion in PX relates to a specific property, but everything else, the options and options analysis is in the open item agenda. So I think I'll just give a little bit of background. We're looking and considering this matter because the Community Housing Trust were not satisfied with their current premises. There was a number of issues there that caused them to go and look out for alternative accommodation. They found a specific property, which is the property identified in the PX report, and they came to council a few months ago asking for a loan to purchase that property. Council considered that and then asked that staff would go away and look at the option of purchasing that property and leasing it to the trust. We've looked at that. We've brought back a full options report which considers status quo, which considers purchasing a property, and which also considers revisiting the loan issue. As it turns out, the staff are recommending the option where we purchase a property, and the reasons for that is that option has a positive cash flow. It is self-funding. It creates a certain future for the trust, and it also has the long-term benefit of providing an opportunity for them to have ownership and therefore possibly less reliance on council grant funding. But that is a 15 to 20 long-term vision and benefit. So I think, and also there is a good exit mechanism in terms of this property if things don't work out. But all the forecasting shows that it will. We can always re-tenant or resell the property. So we think it's a good investment, and that's why we've recommended it above all the other options, and it has the best net present value on a discounted cash flow analysis. So I reiterate what Leanne said. We need to avoid talking about specific property in this situation. I hope you'll all understand why, but if you want further clarification on why that's the case, I'm happy to discuss that in PX. So the first part of the report, the open one, sets out how the council, or seeks a decision on how the council want to support this group. Do you want to support it through the officer recommendation, which is purchase property, or the other options? And then once you've decided that option, if it is the staff recommendation, then the consideration is for a specific property in PX. I know I have hopefully Financer in the meeting, and Sam Callender, who is a relationship manager with the group, and we're all happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And just noting that the wording on the second resolution is not past the resolutions in the public excluded agenda report. It's consider the recommendations in the public excluded agenda report. So that clarifies that. But I just wanted to acknowledge staff for turning this around relatively quickly. There was a desire to have a public debate, public-facing debate about the issue without walking on the, or traversing the commercially sensitive elements of the report. So instead of the whole paper being in PX, it's got this part in the open agenda and the specific property details all in the PX section, which people understand. So are there any questions for any of the staff? So we've got finance here as well as Angus from the property side. No. So would someone like to move the recommendations? Sarah, seconded by Mike. I could have taken Tim or Yanni as well, but sorry, that was the first hand I saw. So I'll open it up for debate. Sarah, would you like to kick it off then?
I just think that this makes complete sense. It's a really thorough look at all of the issues involved, and it makes sense for us to do something in this way to enable Community House to support a broad number of organisations who deal with a huge number of residents in our city on a day-to-day basis. So really looking forward to getting this off the ground. Thanks.
Thank you. Who's next? Anyone? Yanni.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I too wanted to support this resolution and also just acknowledge the work that staff have done. Thank you for putting the effort into working with this group. I think this is a far better solution than what we were presented with previously. And just to acknowledge that, earlier today we heard from a number of people from our community boards raising the concern around what was happening in that community space. And Community House has, I think, a proven track record in bringing groups together and helping people in our community. So I'm really supportive of trying to find a better solution for them, noting that the wellbeing outcomes that they will contribute to will far exceed the cost of doing this. In fact, it makes sense for us, I think, to encourage groups to get on a sustainable footing. We certainly, after the earthquake, have helped a number of sporting, cultural groups into their own homes. And I think it's really important we do the same for the community. I think the sadness, of course, is that this should have been done as part of the blueprint, and Christchurch, our own Christchurch, the Christchurch City Council's own central city plan did actually list this as a key project. But obviously when the blueprint came out, it was nowhere to be found. So, this is long overdue, but it's a really good solution to what is a current situation that the Community House are facing. And I wholeheartedly support it and endorse it, and also acknowledge all the people that are working in our community in terms of the COVID response, and also the other funders like Rata Foundation as well that have been really open to contributing along with the Department of Internal Affairs. Thank you.
Sam.
Yeah, thanks. I won't support the recommendation. My preference would have been that actually they operated from our Hereford Street building. We've got plenty of space. We pay a fairly substantial rent on it, and I thought it would have made perfect sense for them to work in with us. So, and not overly comfortable with sort of this approach.
Anyone else? Andrew?
Thank you. I'm supportive of this. It's a way that council is able to use its resources, but at no cost to council, to support groups which are contributing significantly to our communities. And I would remind councillors that one of our strategic priorities that we agreed for this term, enabling active and connected communities to own their future. This, I think, is a perfect example of that strategic priority. So I'm strongly supportive of this.
Right. Right, we'll move to the vote. We'll poll on it since there's not unanimity.
Okay. Right. Councillor Galloway.
Yes.
Sorry, was that yes?
Yes.
Councillor Johansson?
Aye.
Councillor Turner,
Yes.
Councillor McClellan,
Yes.
Councillor Major,
Sorry, no.
Councillor Goff,
No.
Councillor MacDonald.
No.
I don't believe Councillor Kewen's back. Councillor Cotter,
Yes.
Councillor Davidson,
Yes.
Councillor Scandrett,
Yes.
Councillor Chu,
No.
Councillor Coker,
Yes.
Councillor Templeton,
Aye.
Councillor Chen,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
that's 11 votes for the motion and 4 votes against.
Thank you. That's carried. Right. So that brings us